Hi, my name is Patrick Yaffe. I studied at Open Window for a Bachelor of Arts Honours in Visual Communication with a specialization in product design. I graduated in 2019. I first came to hear about Open Window from an advert online, and that introduced me to an open day at Open Window. And I was torn between two places. Open Window was one of the options, and being my first choice at Open Window, I went to the open day and I saw what I needed to see, and I never looked back. From Open Window, as I got into the product design field and specialized therein, I started to explore more along the lines of the software, the modeling software that we used. And from there, that allowed me to get some job opportunities and some experience in the field of model making. Once I finished my degree at Open Window and I completed my honors, in that time I did part-time work for 3D modeling in SolidWorks. After that, I managed to get a position as a 3D modeler at a model making company, Aero Creations. There I was mainly doing reverse engineering and designing components and models to be built and at different scales for different clients. Thereafter, this allowed me to gain more experience and ability and capability with the 3D software that we were using. Thereafter, I went and moved to an architectural company designing modular houses. This lasted for a good while. Thereafter, I moved to a sheet metal manufacturer after gaining a sheet metal course from SolidWorks. This gave me more real-world industrial experience. From there, I managed to get a position at my current employer at Hatch, working with engineers doing the drafting and designing of racks and components in our mining sector. The main reason why I went into product design was because when I was small, I got a Lego set, and from then on I've become an avid Lego fan. It is my dream one day to work for Lego, and I remember still to this day that I asked my mom to send a mail to them asking for a job, and they replied back then were saying that there were certain qualifications that you needed, experience that you needed. Way back then, it was a good 10, 15 years ago. And one of those points on that mail that I think I still have printed out is industrial design, or it was product design or 3D design. And since then, I've always been looking for a place that had that. And that was my main driving factor for coming to Open Window. Because all that I need now is to just gain more experience and be able to apply for the overseas position. And the honors as well made a big difference. With the honors degree here, it allows me to qualify overseas. For a product designer to go the distance and become a valuable member in whichever team they find themselves in, a valuable skill is your time management, your ability to work with others, because if you've been able to achieve your qualification, you have mastery over your craft, over the 3D side, over the technical side, but in the real world, you'll need to communicate with clients, you'll need to understand a brief. So more so than not, your ability to understand other people's intentions, communicate well, communicate your point across, and make sure that you and your client understand each other, because for you to do your job effectively, you and your client need to have the same perspective on the task. Through my experience or my time outside of Open Window in the working world, I've had to work with many teams, and some teams have been better than others, and most of it's been a collaborative experience. I've had to butt heads with some of my leads. I've had issues with clients, but at the end I do tend to grow. We do tend to iron the things out. We manage to come to an agreement, and from that point we have these things sorted out, and moving forward, the next time the client comes or we have a similar client, we end up not having the same complications. So by that standard, myself and the clients, we tended to work together much better moving forward. The further I moved throughout the different places that I worked, the easier it became as I learned the skills I picked up from the people I worked with, the architects, the model builders, the designers, the engineers. Everyone is different, and some people are easier to work with than others, and the people that are much easier to work with I learned from. The people that weren't easy to work with, I made a plan, and we made the best of it, and we managed to get the job done. For myself, while I'm designing, if I had the choice and the opportunity, I'll just take oats cookies, an endless supply of oats cookies. When dealing with clients or the person who gives you your brief, the main thing that we try to do is initially to listen. I'd suggest that listening is probably the best thing you can do. Try to hear everything that the client has to say. If the client has any grievances or issues that come forward with their design, any things you may ask them to follow up on later, you need to sort that out as soon as possible, because the client has a perception of what they want. And as the designer, if you're responsible to talk to the client, you're also responsible to make sure that their vision, that their perspective is realistic in what you need to make. And it's been a bit of, it does become tricky, it does become complicated, because you're dealing with someone is very passionate about what they want to have made from you or designed by you, and they're willing to pay for it. So you are under the employment of a company, you are responsible to help that person, but you're also responsible as a designer. Personally, I feel that you're responsible to make sure that they get the best product possible for what they want, because you have the experience, and it's your job to convey that experience to the client to make sure that they get what they need and what's best for them. My favorite podcast to listen to is the Joe Rogan Experience, and my three favorite bands are Panic at the Disco, Congos, and Maneskin. When I was working for the modular architectural company, I was given a task to design floor components and wall components for the units that they designed. But the particular requirement for this task was to make use of material that was not metal, something that was lighter and easy to manufacture. So I went and eventually came up, after very few iterations and designs, with a fiberboard lattice system with various versions that were made and each tested in the factory floor. And what we ended up with was a very sturdy mechanism with some interior bracing that ended up being employed in some of the units that they were making. Regarding product design and keeping myself up to date, my preferred software that I like to work with is SolidWorks. I also try to explore other software, Fusion, Inventor, but I'd say the best way to keep current and up to date is to see what new software are coming out. Make yourself very familiar with rendering software such as Keyshot and the in-software rendering that comes with SolidWorks, but also to explore new techniques, challenge yourself. Being able to model very intricate, detailed components yourself is a valuable skill. Being able to deconstruct existing designs, break them down into the basic components you as a designer would need to construct them. Trying to apply that on a day-to-day basis, seeing things that in your everyday life, trying to deconstruct them in your head. How would I model this? Implementing this cycle of observation, deconstruction, reconstruction is, I think, essential to keeping yourself up to date in the field of product design. From what I've looked at and found, GrabCAD is a good source for product designers if they want to populate their models with quite detailed components, something that would just help to increase the appeal of your models. Another option that I found for students to go to is the Fusion 360 program. It's very quick and easy to learn. There's a student version that you're able to access, and it's very versatile, and it's able to export to your 3D printing formats, everything that you'd require as a student. And later on in product design, you may require rendering software. Playing around with Keyshot is a beneficial point for my group of 3D designers that, well, for when we studied, it was crucial to for making our products look as great as they possibly can. For a product designer anywhere to be successful, they would need to never stop thinking, never stop questioning, always wondering, always being inquisitive, making sure you explore every possible option. Because as soon as you do that, as soon as you get into the mindset of questioning, critiquing designs, critiquing your own designs, improving, you'll get to the point where you can naturally self-improve your designs to the point where your client is immediately happy. You provided your employer with what they were looking for in you, because if you are studying at Open Window, you want to provide a benefit to your client and your company one day. So making sure you are able to be adaptable and resourceful is critical.